Good morning everyone. Today we are going to discuss about another topic, a very interesting topic in immunology. The topic is autoimmunity and autoimmune disorders. We are going to discuss about a set of diseases. The major reason of those diseases are autoimmune disorders. Okay. Now first of all, you have to understand what you mean by autoimmunity. Autoimmunity is a defect which can be seen in the immune system. Defect in the immune system means you know that the immune system get activated whenever the immune system of the body encounter with a foreign particle. Whenever some foreign antigen, whether it is an exogenous antigen or an endogenous antigen, when it enters into the body's immune system get activated. They identify those antigens and evoke an immune response against those antigens, those foreign antigens. But sometimes the antigens which are there in the body, you know that antigens are proteins. All the antigens which can stimulate the immune response, they all are proteinaceous in nature. Okay, when some of the proteinaceous antigens, when it enters into the proteins which are synthesized in the body, when it is identified by the immune system as antigen, where then immune response will happen against those particular antigens or the proteins which are synthesized within the body. You are getting the point? Whenever self-antigens, what do you mean by self-antigens? The antigens or the proteins which are synthesized in the body is called as the self-antigen. Meaning for in my body, whatever proteins are synthesized for maintaining my life, for the day-to-day life of myself, whatever proteins are synthesized in my body, if the immune system identify those proteins as foreign particle, antibodies will be synthesized, and those antibodies will bind with the self-antigens or the proteins which are there in the body, and thereby there will be a formation of immune complexes. Okay, so that can lead to various problems which can be seen in the body. Okay, so that is known as the autoimmunity. Autoimmunity meaning immune response against the self-antigen. What do you mean by self-antigens? Antigens which are there in the body. Usually your immune system, while discussing about the thymus chapter, under the thymus chapter I told you in detail about one of the mechanism called as tolerance. I think all of you remember. Those who have studied well, you will be remembering. Those who have not studied well, take your book, go through the previous chapter, thymus. Okay. There, in the maturation of the T cell, I told you that the T cell, there will be double positive cell, and then the selection happens, and then it becomes a single positive cell. All those things you will be remembering that. And once the cells are matured, they will be, all the cells, they will be sent for a test. What is that test? The macrophages or the nucleated cells which are there in the body or which are there in the thymus, they will present some of the self-antigen to this matured T cells. And if they identify the T cell once after maturation, if they identify the self-antigens which are presented by the macrophages or any other nucleated cell, they will be eliminated from the system. And from the thymus, they will be eliminated by the apoptosis process. Immediately a fast ligand, fast binding will happen, and that lead to the cell death of that particular T helper cell or T cytotoxic cell which identifies the self-antigen. This is how the cells which recognizes the self-antigens are eliminated from the body. But that mechanism is known as the immune tolerance. Whenever this particular mechanism is not happening properly, okay, when there is a defect in this tolerance mechanism, that means the cells, T cells which identifies the self-antigens are not eliminated. They are retained in the body, they multiply, and many copies will be synthesized, and those T cells or the matured T cells will activate the autoimmune response. Clear? So this is how it happens. So the whichever cell identifies the self-antigen, they will be eliminated. If they are not eliminated, that lead to autoimmune disorder. The elimination mechanism is known as the immune tolerance. Okay, it is also called as clonal anergy. Another term which is used for immune tolerance is known as the clonal anergy. The meaning of the term anergy is immune non-responsiveness. Okay, in the case of immune system, you can see a process called as the anergy. What do you mean by anergy? Immune non-responsiveness. Immune system will not respond properly. So that mechanism will happen in the thymus, and the elimination happens by a process called as immune tolerance. When immune tolerance is not happening, that lead to autoimmune disorder. We are going to discuss about the two major types of autoimmune disorder. One is known as the organ specific autoimmune disorder. Another one is known as the systemic autoimmune disorder. What do you mean by organ specific autoimmune disorder? From the term itself, you should understand that organ specific autoimmune disorder means in the organ, the antigens which are there in the organ are identified as the foreign. Antibodies will be synthesized. They bind to that particular antigen which is there in the organ. Thereby, the entire organ is damaged. Clear? That kind of autoimmune disorders are known as the organ-specific autoimmune disorder. Second type is known as the systemic. What do you mean by systemic? The entire body will be affected. It is not specific to a particular cell, tissue or organ. The entire system will be affected. That kind of autoimmune disorders are known as the systemic autoimmune disorder. Now, what are the different causes of autoimmune disorder? Autoimmune disorder can be because of genetic predisposition. So, it can be genetical. If your parents, if they have autoimmune disorder, there is a chance that even you will get it. Genetic predisposition. Underexpression or overexpression of the co-receptor. Sometimes the co-receptor will, if it is underexpressed, there will be autoimmune disorder. If it is overexpressed, overstimulation, then also that can lead to autoimmune disorder. Underexpression of Fas and the Fas ligand. I told you already, whenever the T cells which identifies the self-antigens, when it is there in the thymus, they will be eliminated from the system by apoptosis process. When that apoptosis process is happening, apoptosis is mediated by the Fas and the Fas ligand. So whenever the Fas and Fas ligand is not expressed properly, underexpression meaning what? If it is not expressed properly, that lead to autoimmune disorder. Clear? So what is autoimmunity? What do you mean by immune tolerance? Types of autoimmunity, there are two types, organ specific and systemic. And these are the various causes of autoimmune disorder: genetic predisposition, underexpression or overexpression of the receptor, and underexpression of the Fas and the Fas ligand. Done? Now, we'll move on to the type of autoimmune disorder. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the organ specific autoimmune disorder. Again, already I told you that autoimmune disorders are classified into two, organ specific and systemic. And again, organ specific autoimmune disorders are again divided into two different types. One is known as the autoimmune disorder which causes direct cellular damage. Second one is known as the autoimmune disorder which is mediated by stimulating or blocking. So, okay, receptor stimulation, that is completely dependent on the receptor. Whenever the receptor is either stimulated or it will be blocked, that can lead to autoimmune disorder. So first we'll see diseases mediated by the direct cellular damage. In this case, cellular damage may occur when autoantibodies or lymphocyte bind to the cell membrane antigen and causing cellular lysis or inflammation. Because of this, cellular surface of the organ is lost, cellular structure of the organ is lost, and this will be replaced by the connective tissue, which the process is called as the fibrosis, which lead to organ failure. Okay, so what happens in the case of organ specific immune disorder? Organ specific immune disorder, under that we are discussing disease mediated by direct cellular damage. In that particular disorder, cellular damage may occur when autoantibodies or lymphocyte bind to the cell membrane antigen, causing cellular lysis or inflammation. The cell undergoes lysis, or you can see there will be inflammation in the cell. And because of this inflammatory response, what exactly happens is the cellular structure, each and every organ will have a particular structure. The cellular structure of the organ will be lost, and the cells will be replaced by the fibrous structure. That particular connective tissue replacement will be there. That process is called as the fibrosis. Okay. Now we are going to see different types of diseases which is mediated by the direct cellular damage. Under that, the first one what we are going to see is Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So this is one of the major autoimmune disorder. The disorder is called as the Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Now, in this case, antibodies are synthesized against the thyroid antigens. Okay. Now, whenever the antibodies are synthesized against the thyroid antigen, the thyroid hormone synthesis will not be happening. You know what are the different major types of thyroid hormone? One is T3, another one is the T4. T3 hormones, okay, T3 hormones are known as the triiodothyronine. I'll do one thing, I will rub this part. Okay, two hormones are there. One is known as the triiodothyronine. So this is one of the hormone, thyroid hormone, triiodothyronine, which is known as the T3. Another one is known as the T4. Okay, these are the two different types of thyroid hormone. T4 hormone is the thyroxine. Okay, these are the two different types of thyroid hormone. Now, thyroid hormone is synthesized by the thyroid gland. You know thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is a butterfly-shaped endocrine gland which is located in the front region of the neck. It's a butterfly-shaped organ, and it is located in the front side of the neck. Okay, so this particular organ that will synthesize the thyroid hormone. Within the thyroid, there are follicles are there. Follicles, those are the region, that is the region from where this thyroid hormones are synthesized, T3 and the T4. But for the synthesis of this thyroid hormone, it needs a stimulus. Again, the pituitary gland will synthesize the stimulating hormone, which is called as the TSH. Have you heard of TSH? TSH is the thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay, thyroid stimulating hormone is synthesized by the pituitary gland. This thyroid stimulating hormone will activate the butterfly shaped thyroid gland, and thereby this thyroid gland will synthesize T3 and the T4. Now, during the synthesis of this thyroid hormone, there are different steps involved in the thyroid hormone. The rough endoplasmic reticulum, which is there in the thyroid gland, that will synthesize thyroglobulin. Okay, thyroglobulin will be synthesized by the rough endoplasmic reticulum of the thyroid gland. This thyroglobulin that will enter into the follicle. Okay, which follicles which are there in the thyroid gland, the thyroglobulin enter there. Even the iodine which you are iodine from your food, okay, iodine from the food, that also enter into the follicle. Within the follicle, the iodine will get get activated in the follicle. Now, what do you mean by the activation of the iodine? Iodine enters the cell, and in the colloid or in the follicle, there is a region called as the colloid region. In the colloid, iodine get oxidized by enzyme called as the thyroid peroxidase. So, thyroid peroxidase, which is there in the colloid of the follicle, that will oxidize the iodine. Okay, so that two processes will happen. Thyroglobulin will enter into the follicle, and in the colloid of the follicle, iodine get oxidized by the thyroid peroxidase. Okay, now the iodinated, once after this oxidation by the thyroid peroxidase, the function of the iodine is iodine activates the thyroglobulin. Now both are in the follicle. Iodine, once after oxidation, how the oxidation happen? Oxidation is mediated by the thyroid peroxidase. Once after the oxidation, what exactly happens is the iodine will combine with the thyroglobulin, and it forms the iodinated thyroglobulin. Now, once the iodinated thyroglobulin is formed, this undergoes proteolysis, and thereby thyroxine and triiodothyronine are synthesized. Triiodothyronine is T3 and thyroxine is T4. Clear? I think all of you people don't have any doubt till now. Now, in the case of this particular disorder, so whatever I explained you now till now, that is the normal synthesis of the thyroid hormone. Now, what exactly happens is, what are the two different proteins involved in the synthesis of T3 and T4? One is thyroglobulin, which is synthesized from the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Another one is an enzyme which is there in the follicle, that is called as the thyroid peroxidase. So, these two proteins are needed for the synthesis of this T3 and the T4. Synthesis is completely dependent on two proteins which are there in the follicle. One is thyroglobulin, another one is the thyroid peroxidase. Now your body's immune system, because of the autoimmune disorder, what exactly happens is antibodies will be synthesized against the thyroglobulin and also for the thyroid peroxidase. So you can imagine what will happen. Your body, by mistake, it is synthesizing antibodies against two proteins which are needed for the synthesis of the thyroid hormone. One is known as thyroglobulin, another one is the thyroid peroxidase. So thyroglobulin and thyroid peroxidase combine with the antibody and it forms an immune complex. So where it is happening? Within the thyroid gland. So in the thyroid gland, these two are there in the follicle. The two proteins are there which are needed for the synthesis of the thyroid hormone. So your immune system will produce antibodies and thereby these antibodies will enter. The term which is used for the entry of the antibody into the thyroid gland is called as the infiltration. What happens? So if this is the thyroid gland, antibodies will be entering. The process is called as the infiltration of the antibody. Antibody will enter into the thyroid gland and immune complexes will be formed. Once the immune complex is formed, all the cells, the immune cells such as macrophages, T helper cells, plasma cells, all these cells will start accumulating in the thyroid gland. Thereby, you can see inflammation in the thyroid gland. Thereby, this disease is known as the thyroiditis. I told you already, whichever disease ends with itis, I-T-I-S, that means it is inflammation. I'll give you one or two examples. Hepatitis, what do you mean by hepatitis? Inflammation of the liver. Another one is arthritis. Arthritis is the inflammation of all the joints. Conjunctivitis, what is that? Inflammation in the eye. Any disease ends with itis, that means there will be an inflammation. Okay, in the thyroid gland, inflammation will be seen, and this is usually seen in the middle-aged women, and this can lead to goiter. Okay, so during the menopause time period, they will have this particular problem, and you can see infiltration of the thyroid gland. Thereby, you can see swelling here. That condition is known as the goiter. Clear? So this particular disorder is called as the Hashimoto's thyroiditis. This was identified by this particular scientist. That is why it is called as Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Thyroid gland is infiltrated by the lymphocyte, macrophages and plasma cell, lead to the formation of inflammation and enlargement of the thyroid gland, and there will be hypothyroidism. So Hashimoto's thyroiditis is known as the hypothyroidism. What do you mean by hypothyroidism? Wherein thyroid hormones are very less. Why thyroid hormones are very less? The precursor or the factors which are needed for the formation of the thyroid hormones are bound with the antibody. Thereby, it cannot activate the formation of T3 and T4. Thereby, this condition is known as the hypothyroidism. I think all are clear with the hypothyroidism. And autoantibodies are produced to the thyroid protein, including thyroglobulin and thyroid peroxidase, both of which are involved in the iodine uptake and synthesis of T3 and T4. Autoantibodies to this protein will prevent the iodine uptake and decrease production of thyroid hormone, and that condition is known as hypothyroidism. Symptoms of this particular hypothyroidism condition is, you can see dry skin, puffy face and brittle hair, brittle nail, and they will have always continuously they will have the cold. Okay, so dry skin, puffy face. Whoever is having dry skin, don't think that you have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. If you don't apply proper moisturizing cream also, your skin will be dry. Along with the dry skin, if you have other symptoms, you have to consult a doctor, check for the thyroid hormone. The puffy face and lethargic feeling or the weakness will be seen. Okay, and brittle hair will be very brittle and lifeless hair, they say, brush kind of appearance will be there. There will not be any life in that hair. That kind of hair, if you see, you have to go for the thyroid hormone check. Okay, now the second one is known as the autoimmune anemias. What do you mean by anemia? Yesterday's class also I told you what is emia. What do you mean by disease ends with emia? Stands for something which can be seen in the blood. We are going to talk about the anemia. So anemia meaning autoimmune anemias. Autoimmune anemia, where there will be decrease in the RBC. So decrease in the RBC, this can be due to two reasons. autoimmune anemias are of two types. One is known as the pernicious anemia. Another one is known as the hemolytic anemia. So two types of autoimmune disorders are there, autoimmune anemias are there. One is known as hemolytic anemia, another one is known as the pernicious anemia. First of all, we'll see pernicious anemia. Pernicious anemia is caused by autoantibodies to intrinsic factors. Okay, intrinsic factors are a membrane-bound intestinal protein of the gastric parietal cells, which are responsible for the vitamin B12 uptake. So you know what is parietal cells in your gastrointestinal system. On the epithelial cells, you can see some specialized cells are there, which is called as the parietal cells. Parietal cells are the one which will help in the synthesis of HCl also. Now what happens here is parietal cell, they will have a special protein is there, which is called as the intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factors are a membrane-bound intestinal protein. Okay, what are intrinsic factor? A membrane-bound intestinal protein which are responsible for the uptake of vitamin B12 from the food. Now, whenever these intrinsic factors are not functioning properly, vitamin B12 uptake won't be happening. Here, in this case, autoantibodies are synthesized to the intestinal protein, that is your intrinsic factor. And when the intrinsic factors are blocked completely by the antibodies, there will be lack of absorption of vitamin B12, and if vitamin B12 is not if it has not taken up properly, that lead to lack of hematopoiesis, and thereby RBC level will be decreased. Now, to cure this particular pernicious anemia, those who have pernicious anemia, they will have to go for vitamin B12 injections. Okay, so vitamin B12 injections, when they take vitamin B12, it can activate the production of the your RBCs. Now we will be thinking how it is happening. We are giving an intravenous injection. Okay, food meaning you are consuming the food, digestion happens, and the parietal cells are there in the intestine. Intrinsic factor bind with the vitamin B12, and once after binding there, it will take the vitamin B12 to the hematopoiesis site. Where is hematopoiesis site? Bone marrow. Whereas when you are taking an injection, it will not be going to the intestine. Through the circulation, directly it goes to the bone marrow, and which will activate the production of RBC. Clear? So this is known as the pernicious anemia. Second one is hemolytic anemia, and in one of the hematology class I taught you about the structure of RBC membrane, and you have seen that there are various proteins on the membrane of RBC. If antibodies are synthesized against any one of the RBC membrane protein, and antigen, the RBC antigen or the protein which is there on the RBC bind with the antibody, and there will be formation of immune complex. Antigen antibody complex formation will be there. So whenever an antigen antibody complex formation is there, when an antibody binds with the RBC, that lead to hemolysis. What do you mean by hemolysis? Lysis of the RBC. So RBC degradation happens, and there is a chance of complement mediated lysis also, or once after the binding of antibody to the antigens which are present on the RBC, phagocytosis will also happen. So three process: one is complete degradation of the RBC by the antibody, or complement mediated lysis can happen, or there will be opsonization or phagocytosis of the RBC. In this case, what happens is the number of RBC decreases in circulation. Antibody responsible for hemolytic anemia is divided into two. One is warm antibody that will react with RBC at 37 degrees centigrade, and another one is known as the cold antibody. Okay, cold antibody, when the temperature is below 37 degrees centigrade, this belongs to immunoglobulin M. They bind with the RBC. Okay, and this because of the RBC lysis, the people who have this pernicious anemia or hemolytic anemia, they will be very weak, because the oxygen supply won't be happening, because RBC level is very less, and so especially the hemolytic anemia is a dreadful condition. They have to take the proper treatment, otherwise it can lead to death. So next one is known as the Goodpasture syndrome. In the case of Goodpasture syndrome, what exactly happens in the Goodpasture syndrome? It is auto antibodies are synthesized against the kidney and to the lung basement membrane. You know that all the organ, they will have a basement membrane. On the basement membrane, different types of proteins are there. Auto antibodies, so the antibodies will be synthesized against the basement protein. So when the antibodies are synthesized against the basement protein, okay, so imagine that this is the lungs, basement membrane is there, antibodies will bind to the basement membrane protein, and because of that there will be antigen antibody complex formation. So whenever there is an antigen antibody complex formation, and because of the formation of this antigen antibody complex, there will be infiltration of this organ with the macrophages and other lymphocyte. Okay, and also you can see complement mediated injury, which will lead to glomerular and alveolar membrane damage, kidney damage and pulmonary damage, which can lead to death. Biopsies of this patient revealed that there is a formation of immunoglobulin G C3b complex over the basement membrane. Okay, so now what is Goodpasture syndrome? This was first identified by Goodpasture, that is why it is called as Goodpasture syndrome. Autoantibodies are synthesized against the basement membrane of the kidney and lungs. Antibody bind with the basement membrane of the kidney and alveoli of the lungs that can damage the organ. Okay, so the last one under this particular set of diseases, insulin dependent diabetes mellitus or IDDM. Autoantibodies attack on the pancreas against the beta cells which produces the insulin. So in this case, in insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, antibodies will be synthesized against the beta cells. You know what are beta cells? In the pancreas, in the islets of Langerhans, there are beta cells. These beta cells are responsible for the formation of insulin. Now antibodies will be synthesized against the beta cell. Now the T cells, there will be formation of antigen antibody complex, and autoantibodies attack the beta cell, and there will be decrease in the production of the insulin and increase in the level of the glucose. When insulin production is less, there will be increase in the level of the glucose. So this is characterized by the migration of cytotoxic T lymphocyte into the islets and attack the insulin producing cells. They destroy the cells by a process called as antibody mediated complement lysis, and cytokine production, local cytokine production can be seen, including interferon gamma and TNF, and cytotoxic T lymphocyte infiltration and activation of the macrophages, and that can damage the beta cells of the pancreas. There will be abnormalities in the glucose metabolism, increased urine production. If it is not treated properly, the blood glucose level will be too high, which will lead to death. Now the therapy or the treatment for insulin dependent diabetes mellitus is they need to go for insulin administration. So they need to go for the insulin injections. So when they go for insulin injection, this disease can be cured. The next set of autoimmune disorders are called as the autoimmune disorders which are mediated by stimulating or blocking. Under that, the first disease what we are going to discuss is the Graves' disease. So the first one here what we discussed was Hashimoto's thyroiditis, that is hypothyroidism. The next one which we are going to deal with now is the Graves' disease, that is hyperthyroidism. Overproduction of the thyroid hormone can be seen in this case. And you know, I told you already how the thyroid hormones are synthesized. Okay, so imagine that this is the thyroid gland. Okay, thyroid gland, it has the TSH receptor. Now what exactly happens here? This is the thyroid gland. It has the TSH receptor. As I told you earlier, pituitary gland will synthesize the thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone will bind here. This is the TSH. When the TSH binds here, a signaling mechanism will happen, which will activate a set of mechanism, that is release of thyroglobulin and activation of thyroid peroxidase and the oxidation of the iodine, and then iodine will activate the thyroglobulin, and then proteolysis of the thyroid globulin to thyroxine and the triiodothyronine. That is how the synthesis of T3 and T4 happens. So whatever I explained in the under Hashimoto's thyroiditis, all those process will happen here. Finally, final product is the formation of T3 and T4. This is in the case of normal individuals. In the case of Graves' disease, the patient with this autoimmune disorder, Graves' disease, what happens is the thyroid gland, it has a TSH receptor. Instead of TSH binding to the TSH receptor, what is happening here is autoantibodies, because antibodies are synthesized against the TSH receptor. So TSH receptor is considered as the antigen here. I'll make the diagram more clear. Okay. So this is the thyroid gland. I am just writing TG. Don't write TG. Just write full name of it. On the surface, it has a receptor which is known as the thyroid stimulating hormone receptor. So what is usually happening? Thyroid stimulating hormone binds there and the signaling mechanism happens. Instead of thyroid stimulating hormone binding here, thyroid stimulating hormone synthesized by the pituitary, usually it binds there and which will activate the formation of T3 and the TSH. Here that is not happening because the TSH receptor is identified as the antigen. Antibodies will be synthesized and those antibodies will bind with the thyroid stimulating hormone receptor. Now once it binds there, the poor thyroid gland that doesn't know that whether TSH is bound there or autoantibodies are synthesized. So in this case, whenever sufficient amount of T3 and T4 is synthesized, there will be a feedback mechanism. Thereby the production process will be stopped. This is completely under the control. The production process of the thyroid hormone is completely under the feedback mechanism or the control mechanism can be seen. Here when the autoantibodies are synthesized, it produces excess amount of T3 and T4. That feedback mechanism won't be happening. Thereby overproduction of the thyroid hormone can be seen in the case of Graves' disease. So this is about the Graves' disease. Clear? In the case of Graves' disease, first you have to write about the normal process. So in the normal process, TSH receptor binds with the TSH, a signaling mechanism happens and there will be production of T3 and T4. But here, since TSH receptor is identified as an antigen, autoantibodies will be synthesized which bind with the TSH receptor. Thereby overproduction of the thyroid hormone can be seen. Okay, the condition is known as the hyperthyroidism, which will cause heat intolerance. They cannot tolerate the heat. Nervousness will be there. Irritability can be seen, and the weight loss will be there. There will be enlargement of the thyroid gland, and especially in the case of this hyperthyroidism, people with hyperthyroidism, we can see that the eyelid will be bulged. Okay, outwardly bulged eyelids can be seen. The eyelid and the eyeball will be like projected kind of appearance will be there, and because of that, by looking at their face itself, we can identify. In this case, what exactly happens is autoantibodies will bind to the muscles of the eye. Okay, so when autoantibodies are produced in excess amount, those autoantibodies can even bind to the muscles of the eye and there will be, you can see bulging. Okay, so this can be this particular Graves' disease or hyperthyroidism. Antibodies, autoantibodies, it can pass from mother to the infant through the placenta. So through the placenta, the autoantibodies can enter into the fetus and even they will have this Graves' disease. So once after the birth, you can remove all the autoantibodies which are transferred from mother to the fetus. That can be removed by a process called as the plasmapheresis. So the blood will be passed through an instrument. That instrument will remove all the antibodies and put the blood back into the infant. That process is called as the plasmapheresis. So the next disease is myasthenia gravis. Here autoantibodies will bind with the acetylcholine receptors which are present on the motor end plate of the muscle, blocking the normal binding of acetylcholine and also lead to the cell lysis. So one of the famous film star, he is having this myasthenia gravis, that is Amitabh Bachchan. He is suffering from this myasthenia gravis. So in the case of myasthenia gravis, usually you know how the nerve impulse conduction happens. So this is the presynaptic nerve. From the presynaptic nerve, the nerve impulse conduction happens and finally presynaptic nerve will release acetylcholine. Now what is the function of this acetylcholine? Acetylcholine will bind to the receptors, ACH receptors, which are present on the postsynaptic cell. So this is the next cell, second cell, first cell, second cell. Wherever the cell meet with other one, nerve cells, especially nerve cells or nerve and muscle cell, wherever the cell meet, that junction is known as the synapses. The cell which is above the synapses is called as the presynaptic cell, and which one is below that, it is called as the postsynaptic cell. So this will release the acetylcholine. Acetylcholine will bind to the receptor which is present on the postsynaptic cell, and then the nerve impulse conduction happens. So this is in the case of normal individual. Whereas in the case of myasthenia gravis patient, what happens is, this is the presynaptic nerve, it will release the acetylcholine, but this acetylcholine, it cannot bind to the postsynaptic receptors which are present on the postsynaptic cell, because acetylcholine receptor, these are the ACHR. ACHR stands for acetylcholine receptor. These are occupied by the antibodies. Okay, autoantibodies are occupied there, thereby acetylcholine cannot bind to the receptor, thereby the nerve impulse conduction is completely blocked. So that is why I told you that the second set of disease, that will be mediated by either stimulating or blocking. Stimulating, already we have seen, hyperthyroidism. Second one is the receptor is blocked by the autoantibody in the case of myasthenia gravis. So because of this, the conduction of nerve impulse will not be happening properly. The symptoms of this disease is drooping eyelid. Once they close the eyelid, it is very difficult for them to retract back. Inability to retract the corners of the mouth after smiling, and this will give an appearance of snarling. snarling. Snarling means always you feel that they are smiling. Okay, once after smiling, it takes long time for them to retract back their lip muscle, because the nerve impulse conduction won't be happening. So they have to be continuously under medication. Okay, this is a very dreadful disease. Autoantibodies bind with the acetylcholine receptor on the motor end plate of the muscle, blocking the normal binding of acetylcholine, and also induces the cell lysis by activation of the complement, weakening of the muscle, and antibodies will destroy the cells bearing the acetylcholine receptor. So that's all about the first set of autoimmune disorder, which is called as the organ specific autoimmune disorder. In the next class, we will discuss about the second set of autoimmune disorder, which is called as the systemic autoimmune disorder. Okay, I hope all of you understood the concept. Please go through the topic, and any doubts you can ask me. Thank you so much and take care.